Okay, guys, I think I'm going to get us going just for the sake of time. And those that join in can just jump in exactly where we are. But just to kick us off, a very, 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 very big welcome to all of you that made it here today. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Mputhumi. I will be linking to you very, very shortly. Oh, we got a little name drop there of the song. Sorry, I should have given credits. Yeah, I think over the past few weeks you've heard a little bit about what we're doing here with this initiative. There's always been a drive to have this kind of talk series at Umuzi, and through the years we've done small iterations of it, and hopefully this is the one that sticks and lasts. So the essence is we want to create a space of energy and connection and growth amongst Umuzi learners, amongst the team, and beyond that. So we want to be inviting anyone who forms part of our community into the space to talk a little bit about things outside of what a learnership might be. You know, we work hard every day on our curriculums and our career tracks and on our different projects. And there's the very important external side of this to see like what is happening in industry, what are these different skills that we need to touch on, what people are we working with and around in our different teams that we can collaborate with and that we can connect to. You guys have, I think the majority of you have obviously started your journeys with Umuzi online. And as you know, it's a tricky space. You know, we spend our lives in our home spaces working with people all over the show and not really having that many moments of connection. So the culture and brand team at Umuzi are doing big things in trying to bridge that gap. Woo, woo. So that's beyond Umuzi. I think that it will shift and shape as we go. But for our first round, we are having an industry talk style thing, and that's why we have Mputhumi here in the building. And Mputhumi, as you guys know, is the UX design lead or chapter lead at Old Mutual, who is a partner of ours. And Mputumi's here to chat all kinds of things with you. And I think I'll leave the introductions up to him. But yeah, we're so excited. I want to encourage you guys to engage in this in as much of a conversational way as you can. We're not here to have one person speak and the rest of us just listen and nod. You know, we want to be engaged. So at any point, if you have questions, please use the raise your hand function here. I think keeping mics off for the bulk of the talk will be useful just to avoid feedback and technical problems. But when you do want, or if you feel like contributing or asking a question, you just pop your hand up like that, and that'll help us keep the process nice and streamlined. And yeah, I think that is the most that I have to say in terms of introductions. Mputhumi, we're so happy to have you as our first speaker. And may there be many more conversations following this. I know that this is not going to be the only one. So thank you so much for being here. And I think with that, I will hand over to you and we can get going.
Sure, thanks lots, guys. Thanks, Sarah and Kali and whoever that has managed to join us this beautiful afternoon. I hope it is like that wherever you are. So, yeah, my name is Mputhumi Mtiya, and I want to give you guys just a brief intro. I've actually prepared some few slides. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. Yeah, initially I thought I would just like freestyle. Yeah, but I thought maybe I need to have a more like structured, conversation. It is a conversation, and can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, that looks good. You can see it.
Okay, sure. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, guys, this is a conversation, and I am going to be talking, sharing, from my perspective, and I'm also quite keen to get to know what you guys are thinking. And so please, feel free to jump in at any point. Because I don't want to like just sit here and just like talk, right? So the conversation, it's really about us as designers having a design-led conversations, beyond the brands that we're working for. So we often, collaborate or talk or do work for the brands that we work for the brands that pay us, right? So that's like really the context, and I'll give you a bit more, a meat, so that you guys understand what I really mean, and so that you understand where this conversation is going. So yeah, a bit about myself before I dive into the details. I basically studied computer science at UCT, and started off working as a developer, learned a lot, and got interested, in UX design. At the time, it was still early, and it was before we had UI designers, content writers, visual designers, motion designers, etc. Right? And yeah, I mean, and this thing like evolved over time, and I was fortunate that I got in early enough to be able to get a good idea of what it's like to design an ideal experience, end to end, and being involved in bits and pieces of the journey. Obviously, I couldn't do like an awesome job that a lot of designers are doing today, because we've got like very like specialized skills that focus on certain areas of design. But like overall, holistically, we're able to craft an awesome experience. So yeah, and I'm here, and as I said, I want us to talk, and over time, it's the field has attracted a lot of like people. A lot of people they want to jump into it, and as a result, it has been difficult to find like talented designers. And we've been like hiring, looking for like senior designers, mid junior, and interns. And I mean, in South Africa, Kenya, Zim, etc., and it's getting harder and harder, right? And I've taken the opportunity to ask the question: how do we going forward get to know designers that are talented beyond just recruiting, right? How do we date designers, and also how do we actually create platforms where we can get to know them without committing to a relationship, right? And also to have an opportunity to share knowledge and upskill them, to get them to the point where they need to be, right? And yeah, that's when experience design was born. I started like doing that. I mean, the YouTube, just adding content, getting some guys. I had an interaction with the head of design from FNB, and like there are a few hiring managers that I've been interacting with, engaging with, and different institutions such as Umuzi, Creative Academy, Friends of Designers, etc. Right? So it's really an opportunity for us to be able to engage and reach out, right, and create a platform where we can talk, share our knowledge, coach people so that they get better at this thing, right? Because the meaning of design actually, it's something that evolves, and we need to be able to identify those opportunities and get people to where we want them to be. So about the topic, right? There are like four main things that I want us to discuss, right? I said I want us to have a design-led conversation beyond the brands that we're working for, and why it's worth having this kind of conversation, right? Is because of new opportunities, right? That we need to identify for us to be able to create, business opportunities, for us to be able to do that. We need to be able to reach out to other designers so that we can share the opportunities that we identify, so that we can collaborate, right? And I will share some few examples, and sometimes you might provide a better experience if your company worked with company X, right? But how do you reach that company? And often those conversations happen, with the guys that are concerned about marketing, they're concerned about, creating, products, etc. Right? But as designers, we've got rich information about customers, and we've got, a good understanding of what an ideal experience look like, right? So why can't we lead such conversations so that we don't just design screens, but we actually contribute to the bottom line of the business? Then the second point is to be able to collaborate and to enhance and redefine user experiences that we come across, right? So I might complain about Uber, complain about Mr. D, complain about Woolworths, etc. Right? But instead of just like complaining, why can't you say, hey, these are the problems, and actually you can fix this in this way, right? And how can we easily reach out to those designers, right? And share our thinking. And because as much as you're not working for them, right? Like often we have an interest, to better the experiences of the digital platforms that we use, right? Because I would order food online, and it would be of best interest for me to have a better experience, right? Sometimes I need to buy a grocery. If I have, friction in that journey, I would love to tell someone directly, like, hey, bruh, please, I have this problem, and I'm sure that, it's not just me. How about, you change, something here and there, right? So that's like really like in the spirit of like collaboration. And I was in London before I came back in South Africa, and the culture there is that, it was so easy to reach out, to guys who are working for Twitter, working for Uber, working for, IBM, and all these other big brands, right? Because of the setup, is collaborative environments, and also, the meetups, but like really like the culture, it's really about, having a spirit of collaboration beyond the brands that they work for, and even the ways in which people get opportunities, in informal, events, etc. Right? And I wish I was like, okay, cool, to be great, if we can have like something similar here in South Africa, right? And well, Africa to be to be more specific. And the third point is really about like us moving from an Omni-channel to an Omni-channel, experience with the use of big data and IA. I will share like some, few examples, and there's quite a lot that we can do, right? Sometimes we talk about these like, big, technological movements and changes, but we don't really like, take the time just to digest and understand, how powerful these, technical concepts are, and what we can do as designers, right? So that we can lead the conversation, and lead it beyond the brands that we're working for. And the last point is really about, having an open conversation about blockchain-based solutions, and talk about the opportunities that are coming, and talk about how can we position ourselves, right, for Web3. And it's not something, slowly we'll get there, just like, how the internet has evolved. But you don't want to be left out. You want to sharpen your skills. You want to be able to identify those opportunities so that you can pick something that is of interest, right? Maybe you already have 80% of a certain skill. Maybe just for you to be able to be relevant, you need to learn the 20%. So yeah, I'm not gonna like dive deep into the conversation technically. Maybe depending on the interest of the audience, we might do so. But I want us to talk about these things, right? In a like user-friendly manner, right? And not for us to go too technical. Otherwise, people might lose me and lose the interest to engage. Anyways, so I just want to pause a bit now, and I would love to get an idea of what you guys expect, and when you hear a design-led conversation beyond, the brands that we're working for, what comes to mind, and maybe there's something missing that you would love me to cover. But yeah, let me just pause a bit and see if there are any questions or comments at this stage. Any thoughts? Like I'd love just to hear some voices, proof of life.
So we've got a question there from Sinin Shantla. Sorry, I'll jump in and be your PA for the call to me. I'll help you there. Sinin Shantla, do you wanna jump on and ask your question?
Yes. So okay, when it comes to UI UX design, Do it have to be like, does it have to be like a natural thing that you're a creative person, you're an arts person, then you can do that design? Or if you like, maybe, let's say, you're dedicated, you can work hard, you can learn anything. So
Yeah.
can you also do design from that background? Or does it have to be like an arts thing, the way you are when we were born with the skill of being creative?
Okay. The short answer is no. You don't have to. It's a nice thing to have, but it won't limit your career or opportunities. So I come from a technical background, and I happen to be a bit creative, but even if I wasn't, I don't think I'd feel that I would have less opportunities. So there are people who studied like, psychology, people who've studied, IT, computer science to be specific, maybe information systems, etc. Right? So if you can understand technology and maybe you're not so creative, that is a big plus. To understand, how humans use technology and how they perceive it, and to understand what really matters, to people, right? Like for instance, a simple example is like a job to be done. A person that wants to know how to get from point A to B, and the solution to that is really about having directions. I could meet Carly and say, hey, I'm lost, I want to go to Santin, I'm in 4 ways, how do I get there? She can give me directions, say 10 left, 10 right, do this, etc. And then 5 years later, she can come back and say, hey, here's a map, it's a physical map I've printed, and this is how you can get to Santin. And then 5 years later, she can come back and be like, oh, hey, there's something called a GPS, and you can buy this thing, use it on your car, connect it, etc. And then later on, it comes back like, hey, you don't need to buy that device now. Actually, on your phone, you can just type and say, I want to go to something, and type the exact location, and this thing will direct you. You just have to follow the instructions, right? And then 5 years later, right? Well, not 5 years, but like then I could still want to go to Santin and be like, speak to my car and say, please, I want to go shopping in certain city, and can you please get ready in the next 5 minutes, right? That means now the car will be able to navigate itself, right? But the core need of me having to go from point A to B is still there. But when you understand the mechanics, the technicalities, right, you'll be able to understand how to provide a better solution, right, for a customer. And you don't necessarily need to design the car itself, but you can design the process, design a better process, look at the as this environment, look at how I have actually achieved, the job, which was for me to move from point A to B, right? And there's a thought process behind it, right? To ask yourself, okay, who am I designing for? What is an ideal process for this person? What matters to this person, etc. Right? You don't have to be creative. You can suck at designing screens, but if you understand fundamentally, right, that this person's needs are A, B, C, and D, and you can find the best way possible, to address those needs. You can collaborate, right, with people who can translate that thought process into a visual format, right? You can, do basic like wireframes, right, without even thinking about what would be the best UI element, right? Then you'll collaborate with the UI designer, right? And you will collaborate, with motion designers. We'll collaborate with visual designers, right, to create that rich experience. But the fundamentals, they need to be answered, and that's where you could come in, right? And you could be maybe a great, content writer. You don't need to be creative in terms of drawing and stuff, right? But you're very good at good with words. You can tell an amazing story. Or maybe you might be coming from a strong like sales background, where now that skill is needed quite a lot, especially in the e-commerce space, right? Where you need to be able to convince, a customer through a digital experience as if that experience was being, like as if the customer was actually engaging with a salesperson, right? The manner in which you craft the content, right? Okay, at which stage am I at with the customer? Okay, they need to explore this product. Okay, cool. At this time now, they've got the basics right. They understand the product. Now it's time for me to use language that can convince them, to buy the product, right? When they buy the product, what matters, right? Even when you're selling them, what is like, the customer value proposition that you need to articulate, etc., right? Those are like different skills. I mean, I can mention quite a lot where you don't need to be able to come from a creative background in terms of art. I hope I've addressed your question. I mean, I can elaborate, but I just thought I could just give you like some few examples.
Yeah, yes, you did.
Sure, yeah. Anyone else?
I think if I can draw your attention quickly to the chat box in Mputhumi, Sponela once he asked the question, so what sparked your specific move from, and I was also interested in this, so you were a developer and you said I think you mentioned you did development work at Standard Bank and Accenture and corporates like that. What sparked that move from dev to UX?
Okay.
And do you still interact with code, he asks. Could you please describe like a typical day? So there's lots in that.
Sure. Yeah, it would be great to hear your voices, guys. Yeah. But yeah,
man, you've been called out.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's my voice.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if I had a good sample for me to be able to identify your voice, as a returning speaker. But anyways, yeah. So I was actually at Accenture at the time, and I I was assigned to a project in Botswana. I was traveling a lot, and then I did some work for other clients, and I was doing something very technical, and migrating data from like for the like Botswana corporate power, so for Botswana Power Corporation, right, into a new environment and doing other stuff, and then I like tapped into being like a technical business analyst, and did a bit of work in the management consulting. And as you like share your thinking, right, people are like, oh, yeah, you seem to be good at this thing, right? Sometimes you hear feedback, but I was not like really paying attention to it. And then up to the point where I was like, actually there's something called user experience design. I mean, I did human computer interaction at Varsity as a core module, as part of my degree, etc. And yeah, so someone who started in the field, was like, hey, I think you would kick ass at this thing. And I didn't know what it was, and I didn't speak the language, but at the core, right, I was able to articulate my message and to stand for a voice of a customer, right, and making suggestions that, hey, it would be better if we did this in this way, right? It would be easier, but yeah. So this is also like strengthening the point, right, that you don't need to be creative, but you can have a strong technical background and also a good understanding of customer pain points and be able to empathize and relate to them, right? That's how I tap into the space. And yeah, I was actually hired by Viresh. I don't know if you guys know, there's a company called Imagine Group, and co-founder, and he was the guy who interviewed me. It's like, yeah, sure, I'm happy, join my team, and Ray. So yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when you put in the effort, right, and you show your enthusiasm and your understanding and the passion, to understand a customer fully, like end to end, it gets easier even for any person, right? Just like I sometimes, and I'm very open when it comes to like looking out for opportunities even for others, and say, hey, there's this thing. Just like with my friend, he's now working for Amazon. He relocated to Scotland about 2 years ago, just before COVID. I started with him and I was like, hey man, I think there's this thing called user experience that I've been doing, because you get into the space and then you find people that you feel have got what it takes, and now, he's doing well. He relocated there with his wife, and like, life is awesome working for Amazon. And I was chatting with him, and telling me about, the strategy that the company is taking, and the new opportunities that are coming into the space, right? And but yeah, I'm just trying to remember the other part of the question about coding. Yes, I do love coding, and every now and then I will do something a bit technical, and whether it's it's for me to set up my own website, but I stopped that. I used to do web development, and I've done like other things, but I think there's an opportunity. So right now there's an opportunity, for a role called a UX engineer, which is like really it's basically a developer who's got a strong understanding of user experience. And that new role, a lot of companies now, are hiring like UX engineers, are really like the people that can work closely with designers, so that they're able to rapidly craft, like UI elements at a very, very like fast pace, right? Without worrying about like a fully blown solution, right? So again, UX engineer is also another opportunity within the design space. I'm just adding, to the previous question as well. So yeah, whenever I can, whenever I have the interest, to learn something technical, I'm happy to do so. I'm happy to dive in. But in terms of my role, I don't have to touch code at all. It's just out of passion. And sometimes I have to intentionally say no to myself, so that I can focus on other things.
I think it's so interesting to see like the new age jobs that are sort of like coming about as collisions of a bunch of different skills, like the prospect of a UX engineer. That like, it makes so much sense when you say that. I'm like, wow, I've never heard of that, but
yeah,
what an incredible thing, of course. And that's why I was excited about this talk today, because obviously at Umuzi we've got learners on both of those different learning journeys. We've got a lot of developers. We've got a very tech heavy side, and then we've got the UX space as well. And that you've touched in both of those spaces is so good. So we'll ask you all the questions. I think the last part of that question, and I want to add to it, just because when I heard your job title, Mputhumi, I didn't really like. So it's UX design chapter lead. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means? And then connecting to Sponelo's question is, so what is that role? And can you describe like a typical day in the life of this chapter lead job that you live?
Okay, sure. So, just like with, having a UX engineer, it's like, okay, these like specialized roles, right? They will keep popping up. And I'll talk more about other potential roles that will come in the future, right? So we have designers at different roles: UX designers, UI designers, content writers, etc., right? And irrespective of their level, whether they're junior, mid, senior, etc., right? Someone has to foresee that the experience holds together, okay, for a customer. And you might have a designer working on a particular platform, crafting a particular journey. And that person has to align with another designer designing the same journey. Maybe, let's say, a stupid example would be maybe a journey to buy an iPhone 14, okay? And if you were to sell that via an app, or maybe via website, right? Or maybe via WhatsApp or via USSD, right? It's the same journey for different customers. How would you sell the same product, right? And if you've got different designers, how do you make sure that the experience is consistent from an omnichannel perspective, right? How do you make sure that the standards are adhered to? And how do you give direction to designers to make sure that whatever gaps in terms of knowledge, and alignment, a need for us to collaborate across, etc., right? Because it's easy for any designer to, in isolation, to design stuff. Same journey might look different, right? But because when you have that constant experience, right, that's when the role of a chapter lead comes from, right? So I sit with designers. I do a lot of reviewing, on a weekly basis. Monday and Tuesday, I mainly focus on reviewing. That's it. That's how my Monday and Tuesday gets spent with different teams. We've got different countries where Omni-channel operates. We've got different platforms, USSD, WhatsApp, web, app, etc. Right? And for those designers, they work with different teams, different squads, right? And I sometimes have to interact with the product owner, someone who owns that solution, who's responsible for that solution. Dev guys who are assigned to that particular squad, right? We've got those like mini squads, and I often have to engage with business, convince them that, hey, this is the right solution for you to take, or do maybe design concepts and say, ideally, this is where Omni-channel should be in terms of the experience, right? And so I often have to, so Monday and Tuesday, design critic sessions, keep my Wednesdays open, but I often get random requests, and I need to attend other meetings. And now I was in a digital breakaway session with some of the executives, and yeah, I was there for 3 days in a nice hotel, doing a bunch of stuff, right? Talking about how do we take Omni-channel to the next level, right? And that conversation was design led, right? And sometime soon we're gonna have another session, probably for 3 days, where we go away, sleep at an awesome place somewhere, come back. Sometimes we don't get to finish, the stuff that we do, but we have to find time in between to work. And then on a Friday, so on Thursdays, I started with live design knowledge sharing sessions. This is something that I was doing internally, and then I thought, okay, let me just try to expose it. So any of you can attend the sessions every Thursday, 3 to 4. And I normally post the events via the YouTube channel, and I would actually love to select maybe 1 or 2 speakers from this audience at some point. So that'll be an opportunity for you guys just to be to interact with other designers in the industry. And the main aim for that, really, it's about switching off and say, let's forget about the day-to-day design related activities, right? Let's just think creatively, share what is happening, share some knowledge, whether the topics could be inspired from, I don't know, fashion design, car design, maybe building architecture, etc., right? So yeah, and the purpose of that is to really as much as designers say that they are passionate, they love design, they will know about design trends, etc., they will know about what's going on. Once they get the job, they kind of relax. So as much as I can speak about a concept during a design critique session on Monday or Tuesday, right? So I've got time slots that are lined up throughout the day, from the morning until 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I'm sorry, 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. Right? There's certain things that I can't address there, but we can address them through a knowledge sharing session, so that it's not just about a person, or a designer, or a particular journey that they're designing for, but it's really about sharing the knowledge in an informal way, so that people don't feel like they have to defend their position, explain why they take a certain route, right? So we've got on Fridays, a Design 360, where I ask people, so I'll send out a report, ask people to share whatever work that they're working on during the week, and so that everyone get to see what is planned. People get to give feedback. They get to know other designers, so to get identify opportunities for us to collaborate. Maybe there's a certain problem that people have and it's common and it's touching maybe 5 designers. So as a team, we're able to see that, and then after that, we've got a working session, a design working session. So the Design 360 happens in the morning, and we just changed recently. Now it was like 8 to 9:30, and now it's like from 9 to like 10:30. And then we've got a working session where designers can come and collaborate on a particular problem and say, okay, maybe we need to design a way to allow a customer to be able to easily select a country that they live in, right? How do you do that? We've got people will have like different like ways of solving for it, but if we are all in the same session, we can share our ideas, collaborate, and then say, cool, this is the version that we're all happy with, and this is how we can translate this version on different platforms. Right. Then I've got a design man course, a session where we talk about how do we best support the team, right? How do you create a platform for the team to to stay engaged, motivated, right? And we talk about like 7 drivers of engagement, that speaks about measuring freedom, recognition, etc., right? And on a quarterly basis, we can see, okay, cool, how this person's feeling, right? It's more on the emotional side than performance. And then there's the performance discussion, which is something else, right? Yeah, and encouraging the team to participate in events, hackathons, etc., right? So that's like really like my typical week, and in between it's filled with like a lot of like random things. I get requests, hey, we need someone who's like experienced on this stuff, please come help us and give us a direction, right? Like today I just got a random meeting in the morning. Our wheels solution, people are not taking up the wheel that we launched. How do we improve it? How do we attract more customers? How are we advertising this thing? What can we improve? I will look at the ads. Now I was looking at the ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, right? I have to look at data, Google Analytics, Session Camp, see the behavior of and in terms of how the customers are interacting with the product, the drop-offs, etc., right? I need to analyze that and make a proposal. Anyways, let me pause. But yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff that happens in between, and there are other activities, but I don't want to waste too much time. I thought maybe I could mention the key ones that are important.
Awesome. I think there was just 2 questions, Colin. I think they're from you. Do you want to jump on and?
Yeah, thanks. I think the question I have now relates to something that you said while you were just like chatting about your day and like the different like mechanics or components that are part of your day. And you mentioned that you were in a session and you were like discussing the future of Old Mutual and like what next for Old Mutual, and you said that was quite a design-led conversation. And I suppose I just wanted to have asked you to maybe unpack what that means a little bit more in relation to like you obviously have a very like collaborative approach in terms of the way you're working in so many different ways, not just like who you work with in your team, but like there's a very like integrated and collaborative approach in terms of like you wanting to share information to others, but also learn from others as well. So there's a lot of that happening. And I think it's so interesting because that's like obviously part of your practice and the way you operate and exist as a human in the world, which I think is really lovely. And it's, it speaks to like how the industry has the potential to grow as well. But now I'm just going off on a little bit of a tangent. But back to the like, what does it mean for Old Mutual to have a design-led conversation about the future of Old Mutual? Like, it's not just been about like it being design specific, because it's the, I don't want people to. If you could just expand on that a little bit.
Sure, that's fine. I got approached by, the IT exec looking after, human capital, human resources, the old term, about how do we foresee an ideal experience for an employee, and I'm mentioning this as also a great opportunity for us as designers. Like my friend that's working for Amazon in Scotland, he's actually a staff designer. He's
Okay.
Yes, he is designing same process that we employ for our customers. They are also doing it for their employees.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Yeah. And that's like a great opportunity. That's why I was saying that if you're in the space and you are eager to learn, the opportunities are endless, right? And they actually asked me. I was like, okay, I did some like design concepts, and relooking at what it means for Old Mutual going forward, right? Concepts about the use of space, right? Not having to force people to come back, but you can actually, use the space to, to even, have spaces where people they can sleep over. Run a hackathon, you sleep there, you wake up.
Just
Yeah.
in a pod.
Yes,
Yeah.
you wake up because there's like, there's places, for you to sleep, and, places for you to eat, etc. Right? We can have like, certain like, levels of the building, right? Used for, like retreats, for employees, right? To meditate, etc. Right? And instead of just like focusing on the core, like, like gym, like having weights and all that stuff, right? To mix it like with softer, like, activities as part of the culture, and being able to like, invite designers, for instance, for a talk, to have open systems where you don't need to have an access card for Old Mutual to, to access certain areas, right? More like, I was in the US at some point, and I went to California, Florida, New York, and other areas. And when I was in in the Silicon Valley, it was easy. I could easily go to Facebook, before it was called Meta, and easily go to Google before it was called Alphabet, etc. Right? And it was so accessible. I could easily interact, grab a bike, go up and down, borrowed at someone's like, like a colorful hat, etc. Right? So that like culture of openness, right? Yes, have restrictions where necessary, but not everything. So it's like having a login button to a website where you need to buy stuff, right? People need to do that on their website, and later on they're like, okay, let's expose the products, because for you to browse a product, you don't need to be logged in. For you to be able to add something to a cart, you don't need to be logged in, right? So if you take that same concept and actually say, let's flip this experience around, right? How can we create open environments that are welcoming, right? And they can also like promote accessibility, right? And not just in terms of like the physical access to the building, right? Being able to plug in quickly. And if let's say we're to have another training session there, anyone should be able to come and say, okay, today I want to work at Old Mutual office because I'm working remotely. We can sit there, designers from different companies, and then we can have this thing 3 to 4, have drinks, go home, because they're already paying, for the building, paying for it to run, etc. Right? And also like look at mechanisms, to attract and retain talent, right? Killing the need to to have a job spec, but being able to date designers, right? Getting to know them informally, right? And creating environments where it's a flat structure, leadership is accessible, so that we can have this kind of conversations where we can actually say, hey guys, let's not just talk about the business model. Let's actually put the customer in front of this conversation. So back to the question about the digital strategy that we had, right? We had head of e-commerce, head of like systems thinking, design, etc. and IT exec, and some few guys, right, who are like core to the model of Old Mutual, right? And so, so the difference between, so you can have like, your executives to talk about where they want to take the company, but if they can't envision that experience, because now at the end of that session, after a couple of days, or probably a week later, we're able to craft an experience and say, this is how this model will play out conceptually, so that people can see it visually. That we want Old Mutual to be like this. You open this thing, it will look like this. You click on this thing, it will act like this. This is what will happen. This is what will happen. Okay, and all that experience is backed by, they are like, technical business lingo, right? But at the front of it, it's actually being led by what a customer will taste and touch.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting the way you explain it and like describe. And I think it's important to keep in mind that design isn't just a visual thing. It's not just something that is, is the visual or an aesthetic of something. It's also something that's a little bit behind that. It's like the structure and the way of working and there's so many different nuances and scopes for design. And I think, it also speaks to your background, coming from a very technical dev background and also moving into the sort of more usability, user-centered space as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, a digital strategy should be design-led. And, someone who doesn't understand what the hell a digital strategy is, or someone who doesn't understand what a business model is, or business model canvas, they shouldn't, like, just by looking and tasting the experience visually, you can see this is what we want to do. We want our customers to buy our products in this way. You can see, like, anyone, and because anyone can easily relate, doesn't matter what level or what role you play. And you can easily convince other people in the business to say, just play this prototype, just play this video of a prototype and just observe. And you can see, okay, that's interesting. And you're able to spark conversation easily. You're able to persuade someone, right? So that they can take along your journey. And then later, once they've bought into the experience, then you can say, for us to be able to achieve this, this is the mechanism behind this experience. This is supported by this business model. These are our new customers, or this is how we redefine what we call customers. And this is our revenue model. And this is our technical capability that is backing up this experience. Right? So you start with that first, and then you drill into the details, and not the other way around.
Exactly. Then the other question I had is just, and I suppose you can keep this quite brief, and then we can maybe go back to your presentation unless there are more questions.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm easy.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so I just wondered if you could maybe just expand a little bit on the difference between Omni and Omni-channel, just to clarify, because you spoke about like the need to move from one to the other. Yeah.
That's fine. I'll touch on that, and then I'll elaborate a bit more.
Perfect.
Yeah. Cool. Let me just go back, and then I will please guys, just shoot, and I don't have to share whatever that I've prepared. I am flexible to respond, whenever the questions arise. Sure. So can you guys still see my screen?
Yep, we can.
So collaborate to identify business opportunities, right? So I've used here an example of Time Bank, right? So if you go to Time Bank today, you're able to buy a voucher for Uber Eats. You're able to buy health insurance from Discovery. You're able to buy, voucher for Spotify. You're able to bet, maybe you are a soccer fan, etc. Right? You're able to buy a funeral cover from another company, right? All these products are not, our solutions are not offered by Time Bank, but because they have a customer base, they have people that they have vetted, verified, where they live, etc. They have their money, they are helping them to use their money. And the question is, how can they easily get what they need? So banking is not just about, here's my salary, keep it. And it's really about enabling and empowering customers to easily meet their needs. What are their needs? I want to be able to listen to music. I want to eat. I want to say goodbye to my loved ones. I want to, to be able to entertain myself. I hope you guys, get where I'm going with this, right? And the question is, as a company, what capability do we have? And what do our customers need? And how can we help them to use their money? And that's why I'm saying collaborate to identify business opportunities. If you're working for Uber Eats, you should be able to say, hey, let's go to that bank and say, please sell these vouchers for us, Uber Eats or Uber or etc. If you have a funeral cover or whatever solution, ask yourself, who has a customer that you want to sell to? It's a win-win situation. Every voucher that they sell, they get a cut. Every funeral cover that they sell, they get a cut, right? 3 rands monthly fee or whatever. You win because you get more customers that you wouldn't necessarily easily reach. If they have the customer segment that you're looking for, that you want to sell to, they already have. Another stupid example could be having a universal ATM with brand customized journeys. What I mean is, there's FNB, Capitec, Standard Bank, etc. Allowing people to draw money is not a special activity. They can all say, let's have one ATM instead of having different many ATMs, because the cost of transporting money is a lot. You have to buy insurance because those guys, they could be killed, robbed, etc. Anything can go wrong and so forth. To insure the money in transit it costs a lot of money to transfer those millions, and to ensure that the ATMs are not going to be bombed, right? The usage of the money, etc. Right? But if they had one ATM, and I could go, doesn't matter if I'm a Capitec customer or FNB, I could go in and select the brand that I want to use on that very same ATM, and then the rest of the journeys can be customized technologically so that I can use whatever solutions FNB has or Capitec, etc. Right? But at a very high level, I'll be able to select what the functionality that is relevant to me, and from then onwards, I can still have a bluish, Standard Bank journey. I can have a reddish, Absa journey, etc. Right? And I can even take this thing, to the next level and say we can even have an ATM that is non-branded visually and customized digitally, and at the back of it, someone from a retail, like let's say Pick and Pay or Woolworths, etc. Those cashiers can take the money from the till, feed it directly into the ATM, or take money from the ATM, feed it to the till, etc. Right? That's the power of collaboration, right? And you can save a lot of costs because everyone can save and everyone can benefit, right? Because yes, it's very expensive to move money, and the need for money, it's still there. People sometimes want to buy things anonymously, and without being tracked by their partners or whatever cases, right? And until blockchain becomes like mainstream, right, where you can anonymously buy things without secretly, etc., right, or whatever purpose, right? But anyways, let me not take that route. Then the second point was to collaborate to enhance and redefine user experience. So I should be able to go to Umuzi's website and be like, Kali, this doesn't make sense. These are the few findings, and this is how you can actually solve for this. I can maybe even test maybe 2 or 3 people, right? If I'm kind enough. And so there's an opportunity, right? And I mean, in future we can even digitize, through blockchain, the efforts from designers, because you don't necessarily have to like commit to one brand, right? And where there's like an opportunity for you to work in a hybrid mode, where you're working for a core company that pays your salary, and you can supplement by going around and be like, hey, let me solve these problems, and in return you can even get compensation for that, right? And that activity and those recommendations can be recorded on the blockchain, and so that people don't say, hey, I know we're already working on this solution, etc., right? But anyways, those are like just like some crazy ideas. But once you take this route, right, I want to show you guys something stupid, simple. I'll try to like highlight the issues. So let's say I have logged into Time Bank. This is what I'll see. I'll go to insurance. They've got like a bunch of stuff that they're selling, and they have like A2 cover. And then from here, I can see a monthly, amount that I can pay. And the issue here is that I saw that there's no cover amount. I'm like, okay, I want to pay 20 bucks, but how much will I get in return if someone dies? They don't show that, right? I had to Google this information and for me to come back and to go to some other company, that sells, a funeral cover. And because of this, I couldn't know which option is best for me between the 3, because I don't know how much I'm getting and what benefits, right? They've done a great job in terms of exposing products from other companies into their platform. So you select, you click continue, this is what you see, and you can immediately buy if you click confirm. That is so great idea, bad execution, right? So how could we solve this? The very same cards, we can have the benefits like this. You can expand to learn more a bit. You don't have to have fat information, just a very simple, your element that you can expand. And here, when I'm choosing, I can see that I'll get 10,000, 20,000 cover, 30,000 cover, and I can easily tap into the different, funeral covers and see. And also the images that I'm using here, they are actually aligned in terms of having an omnichannel experience, across the different brands. If I were to go to Google A2 funeral cover, the company that sells it, I'll be able to see the exact same image, the exact same benefits, etc. Right? And something like this, you can easily suggest it, but it's hard. How do I reach out to another designer at a Time Bank? Who do I speak to? How can I share, these suggestions, right? Another problem could be I've logged in and I see, maybe my bank account, etc. Here they're saying you currently have no goal save set up. Add a new goal today and start saving. I was like, there's a better way to persuade a customer instead of just having an empty, state like that. And so how do I do this? I said, okay, cool. Let me take the same design, and I could actually, because somewhere on their website they explain the different benefits of you saving early. That if you've saved for like a certain number of days, the more you save, the more percentage you get. And it's like, okay, cool. I can actually visualize that experience, taking something that is flat, written in, as a rule on a static page. I could say if you start with 500, you can play around with this tool, go from 6-7%. And if you invested and you have like a 10-day notice, and you put, you kept your money for X amount of days, this is the interest that you can get. And I'm gonna expand that. So this is like really an interactive, experience where visually I can persuade someone. And it's also from a financial education perspective, someone can see if I start off with 500 bucks, how much money I can have, right, over a certain period. And From here, you can now say, hey, cool, I want to start my goal because I have convinced you, right? And I've given you a taste of how much you're likely to get if you actually started this journey like earlier. So another one.
Mputhumi, can I jump in and interrupt you? I'm so sorry.
Sure. Please do so.
I just wanted to shed light for Mule. I think we've got a question over there. If
Yeah,
you wanted
please.
to
Can the owner of the question speak?
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, yourself?
I'm fine, thanks, man. So the concept of enhancing designs that don't have the best execution. As designers, how do we protect ourselves and our concepts when we sit in the room with these corporations and these platforms that we want to, inflict change on?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm gonna share. I uploaded content to my YouTube channel that I started recently, and I was not expecting much in return, because I didn't do this. I did this. Later on, the head of UX from FNB was like, hey, I came across your channel, etc. And, I'd love to talk. And then we end up like doing an interview, and then it's like, hey, if you love to work for us, the doors will be opened, and then we talked about other things, right? Cultural changes that could happen in the workspace, in context of a design team, etc. Right? And I shared a bunch of stuff, right, in terms of the challenges that they have and what they could do and so forth. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is that if you operate like with a scarcity mindset, you end up not seeing the opportunities, right? So what has happened is I got an opportunity without being intentional, but indirectly marketing myself, right? And when you share ideas, I mean, we've got a lot of ideas. I mean, I've got tons of ideas, stuff I've designed in Figma that I know won't even go live at Old Mutual or even at any company. I did the stuff, and I mean, I'm gonna share a bit more. I sent this stuff to guys randomly. I went to LinkedIn, and they're like, oh, hey, they're actually grateful for the feedback, and they even said, hey, we'll let you know because they're busy working on some concepts that they want to launch, and unfortunately, because I can't speak publicly about what they want to do, etc. And there's so much to gain, right? So when you think about this, the concept called competitive collaboration, right? You help each other, you uplift each other, even though you're still competing, right? Just like if you study the relationship that Microsoft has with Apple, for someone who doesn't know, people will just think that the founders were going like this, but behind the scenes they had a healthy relationship, right? Because there was something to gain, right? And even now I can share a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas, etc. Right? So why am I saying this? The biggest weapon today is not ideas but execution. And you can put yourself out there, take the risk without worrying about protecting yourself, but to take the opportunity to market yourself, to share what you're about, to share what you know, right? And if you are the shit in your own space, trust me, you're gonna have a bunch of awesome ideas. Okay. People won't keep up because you are that good, and they'll get to notice you, they get to recognize you, right? And the reason I'm responding to you in this way is that I want you to focus more on the opportunities than to focus on what you can potentially lose, because there's more to gain.
Oh, no, understood.
Sure. And I mean, the reason why I'm mentioning this is that if you look at, like, I mean, before lockdown, I used to go to workshops of Indian. It's like a collaborative, like, working space. And yeah, I would have guys like they'll come to me like, hey man, I'm working on this thing. What do you think? Like, yeah, I'll share my ideas, and like, yeah, you know, and they will tell me openly about stuff that they want to launch, because they see the value in getting like a broader view than to protect the idea itself. So we are in a world where execution, actually how fast you can execute, is much more important about the ideas that you generate. Okay. Any more questions?
I just wanna check. Sorry if the background is loud. Guys, I don't know. So it's hard to tell who's all on this call, but how many UX designers have we got on the call? Can you guys raise your hand just so we can get a sense of numbers? So Malaya, we've got you. Raise your hand if you're a designer. I just want to see something, you know. Lots of hands coming up. 6. Okay, cool. It's just nice to see, and then we'll have a look and see what other streams we have just now. But it's just interesting.
Cool. Yeah, and the stuff that I'm talking about, it's not just about, it's not UX design. It's you know, I'm talking broadly about design, and even the concepts, you know, that I'm sharing, because even if you could be in, you know, emotion, you know, a designer, you could still take the same approach, right, to share your thinking and, you know, say, hey, let's collaborate beyond, you know, the brands that we're working for, right? Anyways, I'm gonna continue, and then please shout if there are any questions. I'm happy to freestyle. I don't care.
You know me, I'm gonna interrupt you. There's no doubt.
Sharp,
You
sharp,
just go.
sharp. So the other thing that I came across was when I was playing with their site. I was like, how do I withdraw or deposit cash when I'm online? Because I saw this option here saying withdraw and deposit cash. So when I clicked on it, and then I was like, okay, do a cash deposit or cash withdrawal? I was like, okay, I'm not in front of an ATM. I'm at home, you know. And I was like, okay, how does this work, right? Because I was tempted and I wanted to know, but I don't want to, you know, click and then maybe, because I have my money, you know, and I'm not willing to just waste it like that. So I had to Google, end up like going to like YouTube, and then I saw how this thing works, and then I came back here. I was like, this could have been done differently, right? And I just pretended, okay, cool, let me just continue with the journey. And then it says deposit amount. I'm like, okay, I could enter amount, and then I had some more questions, right? So I was like, if in context of this journey, I had the same video that showed me how this thing works contextually, right, without increasing the interaction cost. So I would click here, and then I would see, you know, show me how, right? When I click on this thing, I'll see this lady, she'll like explain to me, okay, cool. You know, I open the app, and, you know, I go somewhere, I choose the option that's relevant to me, I enter the amount, and then there's like a code generated, and you know, and so forth, right? And I will be able to, you know, use that code to get the money that I want to withdraw. I could be at, let's say, Pick and Pay till, for instance, right? Anyways, so that was like something quick, right, in context of that journey, etc., right? So I've talked about, like, you know, collaborating beyond the brands that we're working for. I've talked about the opportunities for us to be able to reach out and say, I can enhance experience in this way, instead of going to the complaint section on App Store, right? You can actually take the opportunity and say, hey, I want to show you guys what I'm about, what I'm capable of, you know. And I've shared some examples with you. And now, I know there's a question about omni-channel and versus omni-channel experience, right? So if I had more time, I'll spend a bit of time diving deeper in and talk about what it means to design for my own channel experience. But I'll highlight, you know, some key fundamentals. Yeah, and there are a few concepts here, right? You know, that involves the use of big data and IA, and because these technologies, right, they support each other somehow to enhance an experience. It's important to be able for us to identify, you know, the dots and connect them so that you can find better ways of enhancing the experience, because one element, you know, will indirectly or directly enhance the experience. But if you're being intentional, right, you're able to see those opportunities. So this is a simple example. This is the reality today, right? We have so many devices. You know, you've got smartwatch. You know, you've got your MacBook, smartphone, and smartwatch and tablet, etc. Right? And on top of that, we've got a lot of places that we can go to in order to interact with the brands that we care about. You can go to their website, you can use their apps, you can go to their WhatsApp business account, you can email them, they SMS you or you SMS them, they interact with you via Facebook, Twitter, etc. Right? And they can say, hey, remember the application form that you filled in, to apply for your new investment. Actually, you didn't submit a proof of address. And they can reach you and overwhelm you everywhere. You log in, you see the same message on your phone. They push an SMS. They push a message via WhatsApp, push a message via the app, etc. Right? It was great to have an omnichannel experience, meaning that I can have an experience. If I look at, let's use Spotify. Okay, I can launch Spotify on my desktop. I can search for my favorite songs, and I can go online. I can type at Spotify, and go online, play music. I can log in, etc. Right, and this experience is not far off from the experience that I'm used when I'm using the desktop version, when I'm using my app, etc. Right, you can see here my liked songs. I'm just gonna do this here. You can see I've got like few songs that I was playing.
Let's see your top 10 there. That's you giving some things away. I'm always looking for.
I know. I was also like, let's get a closer look there.
Big Sean, Waza Sabza. What's that?
Right. Yeah. So I listen to like a lot of random music, but if you look at this, right, I could go and play. Can you guys hear the music?
Yeah, it's a vibe.
Right. So I can do that. Forward the music. Now I can pause this. I can go to to the desktop app. I can see that I'm playing this song, and I can pause and play the same song via my phone, and everything is in sync in real time, right? And that's like the omni-channel experience, right? The experience is consistent, and there's something called context optimization. So they're like fundamental design principles that form as part of the omnichannel experience framework. And one of them is consistency. Then there's context optimization. That means even though the experience is the same, But if I use my phone, right, there are certain things that are done, like Spotify will say, okay, sharp, maybe for me to run, I can actually listen to this kind of songs, etc. Right. And now, because if I jump into my car, automatically my car will play the music that I was playing. And inside Google Maps on my phone, there is Spotify. I can actually switch to the next song while I am navigating using Google, right? That's like that's the boss experience that I'm talking about, right? So again, the fact that you can switch to the next song within Google Maps, that shows the power of collaboration beyond the brands that we are working for. Because that didn't just happen. Spotify and Google Maps designers, they had to collaborate and say, this is how best we can do this. This is how we can integrate. This is how we can allow permission between the two apps, right? Anyways, let me pause my song and go back to Figma, right? So that's like really like at the core the omnichannel experience, right? But now, if we flood customers, let's say, imagine that if I were to go to my Gmail and I would have like simple. Let me make sure I do this, right? If I were to go to my Gmail account, right? Here I could have something, let's say, I don't know, Uber Eats, and I could have like a lot of advertisements, campaigns pushed to me. And if Uber actually employed the Omni-channel experience, they wouldn't do this a lot, because they would be able to see Mputhumi hardly opens these campaigns, right? And if I had to click here, redeem now, they will be able to register that, okay, this guy went on Uber Eats from the email campaign, right? Or this guy opened this campaign via the Uber Eats app, right? Because there was a push notification. So what that means is that if you get to understand and listen to the customer behavior and identify those opportunities through analyzing the customer journey, which I'll show you shortly, you're able to understand that, okay, even though we're available everywhere, there's Uber Eats web, there's Uber Eats the app, right? But we are able to craft an experience that is personalized to you so that we can mute the noise, so that we don't have this case where if I go to my emails, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff here that I hardly like open, right? Because they would know that this is not the best channel of choice for me, for them to engage with me, right? That is through the use of big data. So I'll dive a bit deeper into that. So the concept omnichannel experience, right? It's really about identifying transactional behavior patterns, okay? Observing what customers do, where they do, how they do it, for how long, etc. Right? And making use of the technology. Okay, cool. You are now at this location. I'm in Sentin. Last week I was in Cape Town. Came back on Friday. I did stuff, where I was at. I was in a hotel, Waterfront. I traveled to Old Mutual in Cape Town, in Pinelands. It took me so long for me to get there, and I went there this time, etc. Right? And I got back. I had to go somewhere. The routine changed, right? And while I was in Cape Town, they could have pushed even promotions while I'm there, instead of pushing promotions that they normally push to me when I'm in Johannesburg. Because in that week I was not in Johannesburg. I was in Cape Town, right? So that's really like the power of omnichannel experience, right? So that talks about like having an optimal experience for a particular customer, so that they can perform a particular task at the right channel at the right time. Again, I'm gonna repeat, we want to achieve an optimal experience for that particular customer so that they can perform a particular task at the right channel at the right time. Yes, we're available everywhere. We're on Spotify. Sorry, we're on, TikTok, Facebook, web, app, etc. Right? But not everyone use all those platforms, right? Because we're able to monitor what an individual does, we should be able to tailor that experience for them, right? So how to identify behavioral patterns, right? I can use a laptop and switch to a mobile, right? I can go now and say, okay, let me Google, I don't know, let's say something stupid like let me say iStore Sentin, okay? And from here I can see where they're located. I can go and check directions, etc. And then from here I can click send directions to your phone, and I can choose my phone and I can email it or text this the direction to to myself, and that really speaks to that, right? So because Google has seen that they will, before they implement this, they could see based on the data that, oh, okay, put him in search for this. And then he went to his phone and he actually searched for the same thing in a short space of time. And it's like, okay, this thing is like occurring. Okay, people are actually using the laptop to check for directions. I can see, oh, okay, at a very high level here, there's traffic. I don't want to go there. Let me go later, right? And I can switch. And that means I should be able to provide, this option, right? And yeah, then another one could be, listen to Spotify, and when I need to take a walk, I can switch to my phone using the same device, right? That's why it makes sense for these guys to allow me to switch like this. I can play, and I could be maybe in the lounge or maybe in the toilet, and I'm like, I hate this song that is playing. I wanna, because I'm impatient. I wanna listen to the next one. I could switch, use my phone as a remote, right? So those are kind of like behaviors, right? When you pay attention, you can see, right? Okay, cool. This type of customers, or sorry, this customer's got a channel of choice, right? It's not about bunching people, grouping them, but it's really about understanding an individual, because now in terms of technology, we have the capability to go a bit deeper in terms of personalizing the experience. So how do we do that, right? It means that we need to understand deeply in terms of how we attract customers from Google search, or from Facebook, or Twitter, etc., wherever they are, through the use of smart billboards, and how we attract them into our space so that we can engage them with the content with an intention to convert them to buy our product, right? Understanding once they buy our product and become a customer, how do we nurture the relationship? How do we keep them loyal, etc., right? And then if you go a bit deeper, right, you'll be able to understand how the customers use your product in different environments, right? And you're able to say, okay, cool, for us it's worth looking at this data in this way, and it's worth for us to be able to tackle some core needs and say, hey, let's prioritize these opportunities, because we're seeing that there is value for us to be able to say, let's show simultaneously, if you're looking at Spotify, desktop, app, web, what you are playing, so that you're able to switch. You can see your favorite songs. If you happen to be sitting down, we don't want you to go to your phone and check your most favorite songs, but you can directly see them, right? They're all in sync. If you're adding a new song that you like on your phone, you should be able to easily see it on your desktop, right? And yeah.
Mputhumi, can I jump in again?
Sure.
Would you feel comfortable sharing this presentation with us? Are the resources that you've used there something that you wouldn't mind sharing? Because there's some really cool, documents and images on there that maybe we could use as follow-up collateral for the people that attended the talk.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, the stuff, some of it is already available on my YouTube channel, like the actual details.
Oh, cool, nice.
And I'm happy to share this. I just like put some stuff together this morning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I
yeah.
mean that's so helpful. It's so helpful. I
Yeah,
wanted
that's fine,
to, and then I also wanted to link just in like a small kind of wrapping up of the afternoon, just because I don't want to push too far into the Friday night hours. You know what I mean? I know you got that table booked at 4:30, so. I wanted to ask if you could maybe jump into talking to us about your YouTube channel and how we can sort of continue the conversation with you. So I know that you said that was something that you would be very open to, and I know that you've got a platform now that is this hub of designers, connecting designers, working on collaboration and learning and different learning pathways. So if you could maybe touch on that, that would be amazing, and then we can close off from there. How does that sound?
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm easy, right? Yeah, I've just dropped the link so you guys can just subscribe, turn on the notifications.
On the right, yeah, like, subscribe, thumbs up.
yeah. So I mean, I cover a lot of topics, on the channel, and I said there's a lot. I mean, I've covered like omni-channel experience and omni-channel experience. I've covered, tips about, preparing yourself, identifying opportunities for you to, to conduct usability testing, etc. And I talk about, I'll probably share a lot of content around, new opportunities. Concerning Web3. That's something that I want to cover probably in the next week or so. Probably next let me just say in the next month. Talk about opportunities as designers, in the 3D space. What does that mean, right? Opportunities for us to collaborate with fashion designers to enhance our experiences. Fashion designers should be able to come and say, hey, for this journey, this person should be dressed like this, wearing this type of clothes. And for a video producer, this person should be at location X, choose this type of a person, maybe a mother with a child working maybe in the taxi rank in Johannesburg, or maybe someone sitting in a Golden Arrow bus in Cape Town, traveling to Kailicha, etc. Right? That's like the next level in terms of crafting or in terms of like taking the digital experience to the next level, right? Being able to work with digital lawyers, to translate the legal requirements instead of just dumping, T's and C's, on our solutions. How do we embed and elevate things that should be known by customers instead of being hidden in the T's and C's, right? And yeah, I mean, like I'll be covering a lot of that content, and I've covered some of the content like that. So at a very, very high level, right, the intent is to really have an opportunity to collaborate. So the first one is every Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m. We have these design knowledge sharing sessions. We had one yesterday, one before, a week before, and a few others. And we've got a lot of them lined up next week. Please come and join. And yeah, so the opportunity is really for you to come and ask questions, engage on the topic. And I also want to select people here. Please, Kali and Sarah, help me. I want to be able to select maybe 1 or 2 people that they can present before the year ends. I've got some slots taken, but we can make a plan for October and November, right? Yeah, so that's that. And then the other thing is to have conversations, right? I had a conversation with the head of UX at FNB in terms of how they do things, how they do things, how they stay innovative, talk about the culture, etc., right? Talk about the opportunities in the design space and how design has evolved, and I've got that video covered. You can check our channel. I was also talking, I'll probably ask you guys, I'd love to cover Umuzi to talk about what you guys do, the opportunities that are available, etc. Right?
Nice.
We love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was I flew to Cape Town last week, and I met up with the Creative Academy, They're based in a waterfront, Cape Town. And yeah, we had an opportunity to talk about what they do and the opportunities that they have. And also through that conversation, I mean, during that conversation, you know, there was a need, you know, to create maybe like a design, you know, vacation, or maybe a design, you know, workshop, something that I have to think about and see if I will have time, maybe do something for maybe over like a week before we close, because there's a need for designers who are students to know what's out there, you know, in the real world, right? And
Definitely.
yeah, so then I mean, I talked about, you know, knowledge sharing sessions. I cover a lot of design, you know, topics, right? And these topics, they stem out of the engagements that I have with designers. Okay, people don't understand what it means to have data-driven decisions. What does that mean practically? How do you recruit users that you want to use to validate your designs, so that you're able to conduct a usability testing?
Yeah.
Right. And how do you make data-driven decisions to select those participants? And what age group, you know, the demographics, the cities, etc. Being able to use that information to inform your decisions, to say, okay, I want to recruit 12 people, and based on the data, these are the people that I want to recruit. From an LGBTI perspective, because you know, we are as part of our core values, you know, is to focus on, you know, diversity and inclusion, right? How do we bring in those people? So when we test our journeys, they can see, okay, cool, there's no need here to say I want you to select your title, right? I want you to select your gender, right? And also, how do we provide, you know, even financial advisors who are relatable to the LGBTI community? How do we even use images that look relatable to the LGBTI communities, right? We should be having, you know, lesbian, we should be having a transgender, you know, we should be having people that represent, that shows that we actually care. But that's not the case, right? So a lot of the stuff that I talk about, we won't necessarily see that on the All Mutual website. And this is the beauty, because as much as we can educate our leadership, right? Maybe someone might learn and say, hey, you know, my company, we can easily execute this, right? So that is the opportunity. So the reason why I'm saying this is that some stuff that I talk about is not necessarily reflected on our digital platforms.
Yeah, for sure.
But still, it is still an opportunity for us to say, this is how we can do things. And whoever, I don't care if a designer that comes from another company, they can take these ideas and execute. I'm happy, right? And yeah, so I mean, a breakdown, right? So we've got, like, you know, design competitions, and I've had two. I'm planning to have another one, and there was one for $250. And
Nice.
we had a winner from Zimbabwe. And
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, so the aim is to connect, inspire, and build an African design community.
Yeah.
And it's not just about South Africa, it's really about Africa. Why this route? Is because it's hard, it's easy to find inspiration and say, okay, cool, let me just go online and Google about Uber Eats or Airbnb. But there are like cutting edge companies, innovative companies in Africa that we don't know of. We need to be able to tell our story and elevate, you know, those experiences, so that we can also say, hey, actually, have you checked, you know, company so and so from Kenya, you know?
Absolutely.
Right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that is happening, and because we don't know, and it's our responsibility as designers to say, let's share our amazing stories, right?
That's awesome. I think what we'll do is we'll include all of these additional contact points and touch points that you've set up, like the channel and the knowledge sharing sessions in a follow-up email to everyone who attended, so people can join and sign up, etc., etc. But I just wanted to ask everyone on the call if there were any last questions from Mputhumi, or any comments you guys had on anything. Yeah, it would be really great to like hear a couple of your voices before we close things off. Oh, doing.
We got
Awesome.
Katlego and Tepang. I don't know who wants to fight for who gets the mic first. Beat you there. There we go. Katlego's got it. Sorry, Tepang.
Okay,
Sure.
cool. Sorry, I dropped off the call a bit because I had another meeting. I don't know if you guys touched on this, but Putumi, what do you think the role of AI in UX and UI will be in the coming years? And
Yeah.
have you integrated in your teams and in your workflows, have you integrated any sort of AI features, or is that something you are looking into? And just what are your general thoughts
Yeah.
around that conversation?
Sure. Okay, so I talked about omni-channel experience. I'm not sure if you're here. And I touched on big data and AI. And were you here or not?
So I got the tail end of the
Okay.
Opti conversation just
Okay,
now.
cool. Sure. So as much as we can dump a lot of data and say we can record it, right? How can we make use of that data? So the opportunity for us to store data is there to record, customer interactions and activities. But to be able to say, for us to be able to say, okay, cool, we know that now you are in Cape Town and you are at this place, and if you're at a hotel, you are likely to be here for a short time, and you're gonna head back to where you usually at based on your historical location, right? That's the role of AI, right? That means AI can analyze that data. Putumi has been at this place for this period of time, therefore he stays at this address, right? Without asking a customer where they live, right? AI should have that capability, right? To say this person lives here, right? Okay, this person likes to shop at this place because at this time of the day or of the week, right? This person is at maybe Kauai or at Leafy Green somewhere, right? Oh, okay, this person likes to be at this location, right? He tends to eat this type of food. Maybe he's vegan, maybe he's vegetarian, etc. Right? So the role that's the role of AI, right? Is for us to be able to so the couple of things, right? One is, what do we feed the system, right? Because we need to be intentional about what we record, because stuff just doesn't get recorded. Someone has to be intentional about what we record, and also with an intention to understand how would that data be used, right? And so you need to be able to say, okay, cool, in the context of omnichannel experience, this person opened this communication via the app. Okay, this person actually opened this SMS, or this person has been ignoring an SMS. An AI-driven solution would say, push a notification via the app and wait for maybe a couple of days. If Putin doesn't respond, push an SMS instead of just like flooding him with all sorts of SMSs, right, at the same time, right? So that's like really the role, right? But for AI to be valuable, designers need to be in the forefront of the experience. For me to say, we're overwhelming customers, guys, let's mute the noise, right? Then the capability for us to say, let's code, the mechanism technically, right? To say, under these conditions, this must happen, right? And all those conditions should be led by designers, because we know what's best for the customer. And therefore, even when you talk to our teams, right? Like for instance, at Omni-channel, we've got a team under robotics, right? They use a lot of fancy technology, where they code robots to attach documents, to receive documents, send emails for very simple tasks, right? That's what we're using today at Old Mutual, right? But people won't know that you'll just get a response, and the robot will analyze and check, okay, cool, you've got the relevant information, it will take it, store it somewhere, etc., right? And there's more to it, and unfortunately certain things I can't like share freely in terms of what we're planning to do, right? Even with our app, right, we've got a lot of like concepts, right, where we look at the capability of the chatting bot, and also looking at the voice capability, right? If you're to open the app, can I say, hey, I need to claim, right? The app, you don't need to log in. The app can authenticate your voice, because it knows, okay, this is Mputhumi, and when Mputhumi says I need to claim for a funeral, automatically behind the scenes, right, the AI capability will authenticate you, and also it will fire the relevant journey behind the scenes, right? And being in a world where we're going to have like voice driven interactions, where you don't necessarily have to fire the app, right? Even through the integration of Siri capability, you can say, Siri, my partner has unfortunately died, right? And we are planning to bury her in the next 2 weeks, right? We should be able to invoke and launch certain processes. Anyway, let me pause.
No, thank you very much for your answer. It's also good to hear that you integrating built-in utilities, using those APIs to drive your own features. So thank you for your answer. Thank you for coming as well today.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I can talk more, right, in the metaverse space, and that's like a topic
whole thing.
topic for a day. Yeah.
It's a whole thing. I think Tsepang had a question.
Tsepang. Hello?
I think, well, while we wait for Tsepang, there was a question in the comment section here that says, like, how would the role of a business analyst, or is a business administrator a role fit in the UX space from your perspective?
Okay.
I think it's business analyst.
Yeah. So we have different squads. We've got a squad is like a complete like mini team that delivers a specific feature or features for a particular platform or cross-platform, and under that squad, so I sit outside. I support the different squads. You'll have a designer, UI UX designer, content writer. You'll have you'll have developers. You'll have BAs. You'll have testers, scrum master, product owner, right, and business stakeholders that support that squad, right? Because we work in an agile environment, right? The role of a BA has evolved over time, because there's overlapping roles between a UX designer or UX researcher with a BA. I play a role of a business analyst in my in my career, right? Understanding the as is environment that is a shared responsibility nowadays, right? Both, well, not just both, by everyone, right? Technically, what does that mean, right? Understanding the technical constraints, understanding the business requirements, right? Involving a BA. So if you need to go and do a research, a BA will be involved. We're no longer like now writing like long ass like business requirements, because the intention is to document less and do more, right? So that we can move faster. And the important thing is to actually visualize and communicate frequently. That's why we have stand-ups, right? So the BA has to work closely now with the designers. Even in our design critic sessions, I often say, guys, please bring in your BAs to answer questions. So now they end up focusing more on understanding the business rules. They focus more on setting up meetings to collaborate with business stakeholders, right? And they now also take interest into persuading business stakeholders so that they understand the value of taking a particular route, because as not just because a designer says so, but they need to buy into the into the thinking. So now they, on behalf of designers, whenever they interact with other stakeholders, they need to be able to say, okay, I need to fire Figma. This is what we mean. They don't necessarily have to design, or sorry, they don't need to be able to design. But nowadays, I mean, like I used to send links. If someone is asking for a PowerPoint presentation, like, no, come to Figma. I don't care who you are. Come to Figma. I'll launch this thing. Like, no, click here. This is how you leave a comment, right?
People are scared of Figma, man. They're afraid.
Right. Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
That attitude, I love it.
Yeah. So people will be scared, right? Because they're not exposed, they're not familiar, right? But once you say, hey, you don't need to learn anything, just click this link and see, okay, cool. All you need to do is that I want you to be able to leave a comment. That's it. If you click, this is a hotspot for you. If this thing goes like this, that's where you need to click. That's all you need to learn, right? And you know, it's a process, it's a journey. You know, you say, hey, come along in the journey. And yeah, like, I mean, I've had a lot of like business stakeholders now. They're able to say, no, Mputhumi, just send me a Figma link, you know. And anyways,
Nice. Cool. I don't know, Tepang, have you found your voice, my friend?
Yeah, and some BAs now, they want to tap into the design space.
Okay, no, I think Tepang's gone. Yeah. Cool. Then I think, any last questions, guys, just as we wrap up? Sure, it's been such a wonder having you here, sharing with us, Mputhumi. Thank you so very much. Thank you for being so enthusiastic from the beginning of that first email I said, oh, would you come and share with us? So enthusiastic from the beginning. And you've given us lots of insights and resources as well, some follow-up opportunities that we can stay connected and stay upskilling. And I think that's of course the primary goal here. You know, we want to connect with like other professionals in industry, learn things from each other, and that I think is exactly what has happened here. So thank you so much from all of us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's Carly. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, or if anyone else has anything to say.
No, I think you've said it all. Thanks so much. And yeah, thank you for being here. And we look forward to staying connected and staying in touch and collaborating more with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, likewise, guys. I mean, thanks to everyone that has joined. You know, thanks for taking out the time. You know, it's the effort goes both ways. And yeah, so I just want us to, you know, in closing, to really think about the opportunities, you know, that the space presents. And you know, you can live an awesome life as a designer. You know, how much you earn is really up to you. You know, there is no bar. And you know, it's really about like showing value, you know, and taking the opportunities, you know. And I mean, I won the first hackathon at Old Mutual, and that alone has opened like a lot of doors, you know, and opportunities. And yeah, so it's sometimes, you know, just to make that extra effort, and you know, staying engaged, and you know, you're able to open opportunities for yourself and actually redefine what user experience and be part of that you know, evolution, right? And yeah, I mean, the space is like really interesting, and the only way to thrive is to stay, you know, like relevant and pay attention to each and everything that you do. You know, the fact that when you charge your, you know, your MacBook, you know, it gives you the same sound as you when you charge your, you know, your iPhone. That gives you like an example of an omni-channel experience. The icons that you see on your Mac versus iPad, etc. Right? When you pay attention, you're able to learn every day, right? And yeah, so pay attention, and you know, be here in the moment, and that will like open a lot of opportunities for you to learn and to stay creative and relevant. Thank you. Let's connect, inspire, and build an African design community.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend and a lovely life.
And we'll see you at the next one.
Yay!
Stay posted for the next talk. It's going to be awesome as well, and we can't wait.
Cool, guys.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Guys.